I thought that was very good, that discussion. Hope we can continue. Yeah, let's do more. There's a card going around for Audrey Jung, if you know her from VCU, that if you'd like to, she's in the hospital, and if you'd like to send her get well wishes, please sign the card.
We already signed it.
The order?
The order, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter. That's a great idea, and we have everybody. I guess, have everybody's address. But I think a better suggestion would be there's a guest book downstairs that some of you have signed in. I think some haven't. But if you have signed in, and if you haven't, could you either re-sign or add to what you've signed? And if you haven't, sign with your name. This is too. The idea is that in the address book, instead of just signing your name, please put your mailing address and your email address. And then we can Xerox that and send it out to everybody, either via email or regular mail. The next panel is Dance for Camera, Europe, Latin America, and Canada. We have Nuria Font from Spain, Rodrigo Alonso from Argentina, Laura Toller from Canada, and Steve Jackman from England. And I will turn it over to them. Thank you.
I would like to have the light down, please. And go.
Je sais que c'est impossible, mais j'ai toujours voulu qu'on s'en est dans le même registre. Et Nuria disait, je sais que c'est impossible, mais j'ai toujours voulu ce que je pense de vous faire rien. Et Nuria disait, si tout se passe comme prévu, on partira ensemble pendant la nuit pour ne jamais retourner. Nuria disait, maintenant tout ça fini, maintenant me chérie. Et Nuria disait, plus que je t'appelle mon sage. Jess disait, je sais que c'est impossible avec vous, mais j'ai toujours voulu dormir un peu plus. Jess disait, si tout passe comme prévu, on me descendra sur terre. Et puis disait, voulez-vous que je vous dise que je suis à vous? Quelqu'un disait, non, non, c'est que je vous, mais maintenant, mais maintenant, mais maintenant.
Okay, stop. Hello. I decided to start with this fragment of monologue from by Walter Burdin, and with this extraordinary dance, who's Fumio Ikeda. And I would like to start with this film that I really enjoy. It's one of my favorites because I am a little afraid, like she. My English is terrible. I don't know enough to be here talking with you. I know about dance video and video dance, I suppose, but I don't know anything about English or really a low level. So apologize for my mistakes. I'm sure I will do. And apologize because I will be very simple in my talking, because I don't have so much vocabulary to express really my feelings and my sentiments and what I know about video dance in Europe. So please go through my words a little more longer and try to imagine what I am talking about. Well, just to start, I would like to present me. I'm director and curator of a dance film festival in Barcelona, which starts on 1984. I've been viewing more signs there than 2,000 dance film and video works, with all of formats and genres and categories that you can imagine. Documentaries, stage recording, feature films, camera reworks, camera choreography. I love very much my job. On 1998, working on the last Mostra, this is the name of our festival, Mostra de Video Danza. Can you change? We did the catalog in CD room, and we decided to create a videotheque, a video library. I don't know how do you say it. And I had to start working on a proposal in order to buy a number of titles, limited, of course, because we don't have enough budget. And it was very difficult. Very difficult looking from these 2,000 videos I saw, which one can be representative and the first that we want to have in our videotheque. And when Douglas tells me that if I can talk a little about the European video dance and film dance, I was thinking that maybe I can use this short list that I did for Barcelona, or to Barcelona, to try to talk with you just with 20 minutes about what is and what was and what can be in the future video dance in Europe and how is this. Working in this list, I expended days to take a decision, and maybe right now I will change again if I can. I would like to change again this decision. But anyway, if we take this list and we take off the American titles, because I don't want to talk now, I to talk about this now, but I have, of course, in my videotheque, in our videotheque, some videotapes from the States and from other countries of America. We select only a few of the videos that we have in the videotheque from Spain, because of course we did a special preference to the titles from Spain, from our country. We will have just around 20, 25 titles from Europe. And through these 20 titles, we can try to be over the recent history of dance video and dance film, or this name that I really enjoy this morning, that about motion picture dance. I will propose a change in Europe to talk about dance film. And one of the first decisions that I had to decide to talk was considered only camera choreographers' works for this list. It's a way to be limited in the list, and because my own and subjective tendency, because I am myself a director on video dance and a curator on video artworks. I like very much dance, but my own experience is more close to the audiovisuals art form. I selected only the titles that I can include, or I would like to include in a video art videotheque, for example, or in experimental film programs or festival. So I had to take off beautiful titles like the Chantal Ackerman film about Pina Bausch, because it's a documentary. I have to take off this powerful film, feature film by Carlos Saura, named Bodas de Sangre or Carmen. And it doesn't mean that I don't like, or I doesn't like these films. It's just because it's one kind of proposal. What, for me, it means dance film or video dance pieces in the way on contemporary right now, during what it means from the 80s until now. I think the way to understand better what I am talking about is to have a look on the films. They will talk themselves about what is video dance, what is film and dance in Europe, and what could be in the future. If we start from the beginning, we have to look on the French films on the 80s, and we can maybe start with Jump, one of the interesting titles. And it's a video in between New York and Paris. It's not really a European film, but it's the first one that I consider in this list. because it was directed by Charles Atlas, that you know very much, and the choreography is from Philippe Decoufflet, by Philippe Decoufflet. Philippe Decoufflet got the chance to work with Atlas, and at the same time, Atlas got a high budget to produce a film out of Cunningham Foundation. We must remember that on the 80s, contemporary dance and video art was especially to favor by the French government. It was the boom of the 80s. And much contemporary choreographers starts to produce dance films in this moment, establishing a very interesting relationship with and between directors. But come back to Jump and Decoufflet. We have to recognize he did, and he is still doing, a very interesting work to experiment with a kind of new musical. I don't know if it's the good, it's a musical? Do you say it's musical? Okay. A funny party full of crazy relationships in between dancers and camera. Camera was there like another dancer. Decoufflet is maybe the only one of this list of French choreographers from the 80s who continues to work in video until now with the same interest and the same line, the same way. We can for sure have a look to Codex, one of the most important pieces from the last 80s. And I will show you through this catalog in CD-ROM that there is a very short fragments of the pieces. And try to go to. Oh, sorry. I am not very quick with that. No funciona. No entiendo. Let's go. Well, this is the list that I was talking about. And we were asked to Codex. Sorry, you don't have the time, the music on. But I just show that because I think if someone has been the possibility to see this film, he will remember about. This was Codex, and Decoufflet did many other films, but one of the most important is Le Petit Bal. It's a very short piece with popular music from France, and it's one of the most awarded work, not only in dance festivals, but also in short film festivals. We have to talk more about the relationship from dance film festivals and pieces and short film. I think later maybe we can talk a little about this. And then he did write 2 years ago a beautiful film, a new one, named Abracadabra. And can you check if it's the first that I tell you? Let's have a look on Abracadabra. Abracadabra, I think it's the first that I tell, the second one. I don't know because why it's not sounding. You don't know why? Why is not sound?
Maybe it's video too.
No tengo ni idea.
Video one.
Well, so stop. I cannot to show you because I don't know what's happening with the music. I was working before, I think. Anyway, I think you will appreciate how the Coufflet chose a way to create performance as an intelligent and sensitive contemporary entertainment. And I remember how when Douglas was talking about these terms, entertainment, I think the Coufflet is a very good way to understand what can be dance with a very intelligent way. So not really only because just a form, but in a very intelligent and developed way, but at the same time very popular, very easy to look, very funny to enter in. He likes cirque as much as dance as much as cinema or video. He is a very multi-system and multi-formats man creator. I'm sorry because I was thinking to show you something, but that it reminds me a lot these fragments that we saw about from Busby Berkeley yesterday, because it's he works a little in this kind of compositions, etc. Maybe I will look for, and maybe at the last part of the meeting we can have a look on this, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe later downstairs. It's a very interesting. I really recommend to know the Coufflet work in video, also in the stage, of course. Continuing on the 80s, I could not to select. I would like to select and not forget the extremely personal movement work from the couple Bouvier and Obadia. I'm sure you know, with the expressive and emotive form on manipulating time and sound. I'm sure you know L'Entraîne, La Chambre. Bouvier and Obadia, choreographers and directors, they are the two choreographers and directors. We always were expecting a new film on the 90s because they stopped to work during this time. They are only work for the stage. They don't continue to work for the image. And it's funny to know that the last film they did was more a short film, a feature film, a short than a dance film. Do you remember Waterproof? Have you seen Waterproof from Daniel Larrieux? It's a very beautiful work on the water and a bestseller. Well, I just try to say that very noted film, almost like La La Love and Sex, another one from Canada, for example, very noted in Barcelona and in Spain and in Europe in general, or, for example, Dear Dreams, that I'm sure Steve will talk about, from DV8. I think Waterproof was an example how in the 80s it was very important to have an experimental way and work, and how to be at the same time in the broadcast, in the TV. How it was possible to work in doing very, very new productions, radical proposals, but to combine with a very good quality on the image, on the production, on the audiovisual level, and on the choreographic level, and the dancers are very good. And the results was very nice to be for TV, on TV. It was a kind of very nice or interesting way to be in touch with people, and not only in touch with dancers, choreographers, or people who comes to see performance on the stage, but also people who never have been thinking to go to look for dance or to see dance, who doesn't know anything about dance. Let's see a fragment of Waterproof. I hope it will. I'm sorry, but we don't have so much time, so I have to go ahead. This film helps very much to create a public and to recognize video dance as a genre. Maybe we can talk later too about if it's important or not to have a public success in this kind of art. Or this. Another couple that starts at this time and continue to work, and they work only for choreographing for camera, not for the stage, only for the camera, are Norbert and Nicole Corsino. Especially interesting, they work at circumnavigation, for example, shooted in different cities and like Lisbon, Riga, Vancouver. Let's see a fragment of their last work, Captives, very aesthetic work. I show you this because if you have the possibility, they are working right now in the second version. And then this film will be two versions. One is this, it's long, it's 25 minutes. And the other one will be the same movements through this motion capture that we was seeing the first night. And he develops all this choreography with another level, just with the motion captures and doing another choreography through this system, this computer system. Well, if we forget now France, we go to Belgium, is another country that where we can find very interesting pieces of dance films. With from these choreographers like Anne-Therese Kesmarker, Wim van der Keibus, Michel Andemey, Roxanne Wilman. I think they're very, very nice way to work together. They establish kind of relationship between choreographers and directors, a very close one, and with, for example, Thierry Demey, Walter Berdin, or Octavio Iturbe, and they develop, because all of these directors, they are working one time with Anne-Therese Kesmarker, the other time with Wim van der Keibus, another time with, so they develop a kind of group, a kind of team, and they push together a lot to have financial financial support, to have ways in technical staffs. So I think this gives the possibility to the Belgium to produce a really high-level works in dance video. Let's have a look on 2 minutes on Rosland, one of the best, one of the most awarded piece from Van der Keibus, or by Van der Keibus and Walter Bedin, and Octavio Iturbe. Well, I think I have to forget exactly what I was trying to explain you because there is no time for. I'm going to go to Spain and try to have a look on our production. Just to say that, that my selection here was to trying to show you that in general we have in Europe a very high level production in a quality, in not, I don't want to say that it's better, and not to talk about the content, but about the form, about the
High production values.
yes.
Very high production values.
Yeah. But this is, in a way, it's very interesting for me because I like this, because I like images. I like to work with a team. I like to work with the big production. I like the medium. But in another way, when you are poor, it difficult really a lot. Go ahead and work and do things because you feel like if you don't have money, you don't have the possibility to do video dance pieces. And I think this is a little what is the situation in Spain right now. We don't have so much money, not a lot than Belgium, not so much than in England, not so much like other countries. Well, we have money, but they don't want to put this money in video dance. We have just small budgets, and we try to do the same level or the same kind of productions than in other countries, maybe because there is the mirror of our interest, something like that. And what happens in Spain, that we did, and we have many different works, but they are always very short. It's like we will do something, but just in 4 minutes, you know? We have money for 4 minutes, so we are going to do productions 4 minutes longer, or 5 minutes longer, 6 minutes longer. And the results, it's like, always it's like the feeling is just, this is a good idea. But where is the content? Where is going? What happens with? What do you want to do with, to explain, to talk about? What is the you know, the future of that? It's like, it's just trying to go. And when I was here, I was thinking a lot about this problem because I try to be a little producer in Spain. Through our festival, we produce every 2 years, 3 videos with about $10,000. $10,000. So they do short films. I'm going to show you a little what we are doing. And I just open, because I don't have more time to talk about that, but just open the question about, do you need, or we do need money to produce dance films, or can we produce dance films without broadcasters? What will be the future? How is the future? How is the way? Where we have to push for? This is a little my open idea. And at the end, I show you 5 minutes of Spanish video. They are fragments. It's a last tape. Thank you.
Right, I think it's my turn. Hello, my name's Steve Jackman. I'm the manager of the Video Place. We're based at the Place in London. There are kind of two main thrusts to our work, really. One of them is that we record about 200 dance performances a year. 150 of those take place at the Place Theatre, and they're recorded by 2 cameras, which are mixed live by a director who's never seen the piece before in most cases. So that side of our work has been discussed to some extent, actually, in earlier events, so I'm not going into that anymore. The other sort of main thrust of what we do is we organise a dance film festival each year called Dance on Screen, and I'm going to talk a bit about that sort of towards the end of my time. In putting together this presentation, I wanted to give you an idea of the conditions that have existed in the UK over the last 30 years that have facilitated the output of British dance filmmakers. As we've only got, obviously, very limited time, I'm going to show you very short clips of films, but not yet. Dance has been captured on film in Britain since the earliest days of the moving image. In the late 19th and early 20th century, camera operators recorded exotic dance acts from the music halls. These films were looped and placed in machines that we call kinetoscopes, and were particularly popular on the end of the pier shows at seaside resorts dotted around the United Kingdom. Since the beginning, dance has continued to be regarded as a way of adding value to the commercial product of cinema and television, either through spectacle, i.e. the big dance routine, or simply the more intimate and exotic. British cinema has been much less successful and prolific than Hollywood in this area. However, mainstream television in Britain, dance continues to embellish numerous variety and talent shows on the BBC and its commercial rival, ITV. One thing I should say is when I talk about television stations in the UK, I'm talking about terrestrial channels, not cable or satellite channels. So channels that are available, to everybody across the country. Right, so television. As a public service broadcaster, the BBC has a distinguished record of presenting dance as art on television, mostly by presenting ballet productions. However, since the 1970s, both the BBC and ITV have at times turned their attention to contemporary or modern dance in the form of documentaries and screen adaptations, particularly about the Place, in fact, where I come from. In 1974, the BBC Two arts programme called Review featured London Contemporary Dance School and included rare interview footage with Robin Howard, the Place's founder. In 1977, the commercial broadcaster London Weekend Television's prestigious arts programme, The South Bank Show, documented London Contemporary Dance Theatre, LCDT, running workshops on tour and recorded a candid interview with its artistic director, Robert Cohan. The decade saw the beginning of a fruitful collaboration between the BBC and London Contemporary Dance Theatre, which lasted until the early 1990s and included screen adaptations of well-known stage works such as Forest from 1980 and Waterless Method of Swimming Instruction from 1984. So what I'm going to show you first is 3 very short extracts. 2 documentaries that I've already mentioned, Review that was made in 1972 and The South Bank Show from 1977. And they'll be followed by an extract of Waterless Method of Swimming Instruction from 1984. And although the 2 documentaries are not directly related to dance for the screen, I think what they do is, if you imagine television as being a bit like a sponge, if you wet that, at first the sponge is dry, if you wet it a little bit, it becomes more porous. And I think the documentaries wetted that kind of sponge to enable things like the the BBC to commission more and more stage adaptations, which, lead to a path through to dance being created specifically for the camera. So if you'd like to run the first 3. There's a little bit of a pause between the films.
Now you'll find the place tucked away in a little side street near Euston Station. It used once upon a time to be a drill hall for the artists' rifles. Now it's the home of the Dance Theatre, artistic director Robert Cohen, and also the Dance School, the London School of Contemporary Dance. And they, like the company, base their work on Martha Graham. It's a place where you can find all sorts of things going on, but the one constant factor is the school. And when outstanding choreographers come over to work with the Dance Theatre, for instance Anna Sokolow has just been there from America, well, they're likely to spend as much time with the students as they do with the company. Sokolow's ballet, Scenes from the Music of Charles Ives, is opening there on the 25th of January, and review cameras spent a day at the place to see what was going on.
It's not like that now, honestly.
Totalitarianism that surround me. The definitions of fascism and totalitarianism must be reviewed in the light of new media developed by technology.
1, 2, 3. Air under the arms.
I started at 21. I had come, it's a strange story. I had come out of the war in Europe. I was back in New York, not knowing what to do with myself. And a girl had come to visit from California, and she came to take classes at the Martha Graham studio. And I was showing her around New York, and I don't know what I said to her, but she said, "You must come to Martha Graham because this is what you're looking for." And I took one class, and it was what I was looking for. Halfway through that class, I got so excited I couldn't bear it. I was trembling all over. I knew instantly this was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. This is what I mean by seeing art and making an identification. And I literally killed myself the first few months. I took 4, 5, 6 classes a day. I never left the studio. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I had to roll over and go on my hands and knees. My body was in such pain. I remember trying to shave on my sink, leaning on one hand and shaving one side of my face and then leaning on the other because I couldn't stand up straight. But I was in the Graham Company 4 months after I took my first class. And I haven't stopped since. We're going to start this session with a run-through of Hamsin, which we are going to...
So really, as I was saying, there's this kind of trickle-down effect. First, you have sort of interest in the place, then interest in London Contemporary Dance Theatre through Robert Cohan, and then stage adaptations of his work with the company. In 1987, another commercial broadcaster, Channel 4 Television, commissioned Dance Lines, which was an innovative program of dance created for the camera, with choreographers working in collaboration with television director Terry Braun, and featuring the work of artists such as Siobhan Davis and Matthew Hawkins. The 1990s has seen a relative surge of opportunities for choreographers creating dance for the camera. In 1991, the BBC and Arts Council of Great Britain commissioned Dance House, which was a series of short dance pieces which paired a variety of choreographers, including people such as Jacob Marley and Alita Collins, with a range of directors such as David Hinton, who directed many of the DV8 films, and Anthony Minghella. By 1993, the format had evolved into a series of 4 15-minute dance films, also commissioned by the BBC and the Arts Council, under the banner Dance for the Camera. This award-winning series, now in its 5th year, has showcased the work of artists as diverse as Shobana Jayasinghe, Nigel Charnock, Rosemary Lee, and Alison Murray. Applications are sought from teams of choreographers, directors, and production companies to produce original collaborative works for television reflecting all forms of dance, and these schemes are actually advertised in national newspapers. The format has varied over the years as the length and number of commissions has changed from one series to the next. Audience figures have grown from 1.8 million for Series 1 in 1993-4 to 6.6 million in 1996-7 for Series 4. Series 5, which was a co-production with Dutch television, has yet to be broadcast, but proposals are now being invited for a 6th series, which significantly includes for the first time the possibility of including the reworking of stage performance. Right, I'm going to show you 3 extracts now from the first 3 series of Dance for the Camera. The first film is called Duets with Automobiles, and the choreographer is Shobana Jayasinghe, and the director is Terry Braun. The second film is Touched, which is choreographed by Wendy Houston and directed by David Hinton. And the third is called Boy, and it's choreographed by Rosemary Lee and Peter Anderson. And I think, for me, what I like about these films is that the choreography and the filmmaking are really equal partners. So there may be a few seconds before the first one.
Voy a sacar el...
Next one is Touched. Is it possible to turn this one up just a little bit, please?
Sound.
Sound, sound. And finally, boy. Over the last few years, Dance for the Camera seemed like a barometer for the art form in the UK. When a new series is in the offing, things look good. And when a series threatens to be the last, as it has on more than one occasion, the future looks pretty bleak. This is because there are relatively few funding opportunities for dance films in the UK. And relatively little time as well. Although the 1990s did see a number of successful one-off commissions, including camera reworkings of stage performances, notably Deviate, Strange Fish 1994 and Enter Achilles, and dance films such as Men that you saw last night, choreographed by Victoria Marks and directed by Margaret Williams. There have also been a number of short seasons of dance programmes, including the BBC's Summer Dance, featuring documentaries and screen adaptations that they've normally bought in from other countries. Channel 4 TV, sort of in reply to the Dance for Camera series, commissioned us a season of short dance films under the banner of Tights Camera Action in 1994. That was quite interesting because the programmes were actually chosen by a choreographer and a director, the choreographer being Lee Anderson and the director Margaret Williams. And more recently, they produced 4 programmes under the banner of Dance 4, which included works by Rosemary Lee, Siobhan Davis and Russell Malafant. In the overall scheme of UK broadcasting, the amount of time given over to dance programming is literally a handful of hours. The Dance for the Camera series has often been used to fill in the gaps in the schedule between the more popular programmes, things like The Simpsons, for example, and has on occasion been given some unfavourable slots which have had a detrimental effect on viewing figures. I'm just going to talk a little bit now about non-broadcast filmmaking so filmmaking not aimed at television. There's a wealth of dance filmmaking taking place outside of broadcast television in the UK. Dance films are screened at art house cinemas such as the Institute of Contemporary Dance or the Lux in London, and at independent, usually non-commercial cinemas across the country, as well as in dance film festivals such as the Dance on Screen Festival at the Place. Funding of these films. There have been some radical changes to the funding of the arts in Britain in recent years. In England, much of the money is being devolved from national bodies such as the Arts Council of England to regional arts boards, as we call them, who are considered to have a greater awareness of the needs of artists and local communities. The National Lottery has also made a considerable impact on the funding of film in the UK, although the largest sums are invariably targeted at feature productions. However, a number of dance filmmakers have been awarded relatively substantial amounts of money to realise projects that probably would not have been possible 3 or 4 years ago without the National Lottery. Brighton-based choreographer Miriam King created the award-winning film Dust with TV commercials director Anthony Antanasio. And Sheffield-based choreographer Charlotte Vincent co-directed a film called Glass House with cinematographer Robert Hardy. I'm just going to show a couple of extracts of those two as well. Sorry, I'm getting near the end. So Dust followed by Glass House. Sorry, Glass House, then Dust.